almost everywhere you look, there's just something that makes you go, ooh, what's this?
We think we've got about 8,000 books in the collection at the moment. It's got books from the 17th, 18th, 19th century.
The Layton collection is made up of many kinds of books on all sorts of subjects. Almost anything you might dream of, you can find somewhere amongst these dusty bookshelves.
If you want a comparison, Layton thought he was creating a small version of the British Museum and the British Library together.
Layton's special because he was collecting for other people as well as for his own interest. He dreamt of a museum and library that would be what every person in Brentford ought to be able to have access to, but may not be able to afford to. So the specialness lies in trying to collect the world and put it into a place where the people of Brentford could come and enjoy it.
What you're looking at is a picture of what an educated person thought was important to know about and to be able to research about at the end of the 19th century.
And probably because he also wanted to leave a legacy that people would remember him by.
He was a well-known local figure, and he spent his life in Brentford as one of the big men of the town, one of the leading politicians of the town. Layton was obsessed with history. He was fascinated by the fact that the Romans came through his little patch of London. So he could see Julius Caesar marching past his front door. So romantically, he was attached to history. And he was also collecting valuable books, early 17th and 18th century books that mattered a great deal to antiquarians. I think antiquarian is probably the best word that describes his general interest.
He was collecting a little bit of everything to give the widest possible spread of knowledge, not just of his own period, but of the evolution of knowledge over the past 2 or 3 centuries. This is 250 years old, and it's by the famous 18th century map maker John Roke, and it is a survey of the county of Berkshire. And I'm particularly interested in it because it shows the Great Western Road, which begins at the end of Hounslow High Street. And Hounslow is an important town on that road and was a very important town in the stagecoach age. The books are part of a large and diverse collection, including archaeological artefacts, prints and drawings.
Wonderful, wonderful poster. I covet this, I want to own this. Wednesday evening, the 9th of March 1825. And the star element of this performance is the Herculean power of Mr. Cook with his 10 men. That's a sort of local thing that Layton would have really loved. He would have been 6 when that circus happens, and you wonder whether he actually went to see it.
Thomas Layton lived in a big house, and he left his house as the museum and library. But he made one terrible mistake, and he allowed somebody to carry on living in the house after his death. And so things started to appear in auction sales, and it looked as though Brentford was going to lose its collection. So there was an enormous court case, and a settlement was reached. And it was quite clear that the people of Brentford had to move this collection out of the house. And at that point it was taken on by Fred Turner, who was the librarian for this new public library. And he did an astonishing job in cataloguing and carrying and moving the books, and it became part of Brentford's library.
We're trying to fulfil the terms of Thomas Layton's will, was that these books should always be here for the people of Brentford and the wider population of West London to enjoy and have the use of. The most important thing about storing a collection is to store it in conditions which are stable over a long period of time and not too moist and not too dry. We've got some books here which are getting on for 400 years old, and on the whole, paper 200 or 300 years ago was of better quality than it often is now, so although the pages may be foxed, they're often not too bad.
I think there are some very interesting questions about how we use these sorts of special collections in the future. One of the questions is about digitising. We have digital catalogues which are available on the website, so the books of this collection can be found by anybody around the world. And I think that there is a substantial difference between digital information and reading a Victorian or 18th century Georgian book. They are two totally different experiences. What you discover when you flick through it is in fact a series of engravings, late 18th century engravings, based on the exploration of South America. Look at these fabulous, fabulous engravings. It's just marvellous. These are real engravings. You can feel on the surface of these, you can feel the printing plate, you can feel the edge, and the texture of the surface matches the quality of the image. There are all sorts of things that you do when you're holding this book that you couldn't and wouldn't even attempt to do if you were using it just as digital data. And even had we digitised this, we would still keep this so that people could hold it and read it and use it.
The pleasure of working with the collection is its enormous diversity and the light that's hidden here under a bushel. You're making new discoveries every time you work with the collection. It is quite an amazing legacy. It belongs to Brentford and to the people of Hounslow, and I hope it will do for a long time to come.